As the Vatican prepares for the papal funeral this weekend, we're hearing from the faithful as they continue to look back on the legacy and impact Pope Francis had on them, as well as the worldwide church. Joining us now from Rome is Courtney Mares. She is a correspondent for the Catholic News Agency, and she attended Mass with Pope Francis in 10 countries across 4 continents over the past decade. Courtney, thank you for being here. You mentioned in a new commentary that Pope Francis made people feel seen. How so?
Yes, Pope Francis had this ability, particularly one-on-one, to make people feel seen, prayed for, and loved. During my travels with Pope Francis, whether we were in a stadium filled with hundreds of thousands of people or a remote missionary outpost in Papua New Guinea, Pope Francis always wanted to greet as many people as he possibly could, especially the sick, the elderly, the disabled, and the poor. I remember going into a prison with Pope Francis the day after Christmas this past December. And after the Christmas Mass, Pope Francis took the time to meet and listen to every single one of the inmates who was at that Mass and listen to their stories. Even though it put us a bit behind schedule, it was just such a priority to Pope Francis to have that moment of personal encounter and to share God's love with the people that he met.
Based on the years you covered him, what is something most people did not know about him?
People may not realize that Pope Francis had a great sense of humor. He loved a good joke. I experienced this personally traveling with Pope Francis on the papal plane on the way to Mongolia. It happened to be my wedding anniversary. And so, of course, I shared this with Pope Francis, told him it was my anniversary, and asked for his blessing for our marriage very seriously. And then Pope Francis looked at me and said, "Your wedding anniversary, eh? Have you had some good fights?" That was Pope Francis. He was so down to earth, and humor was one of the ways that he made himself really relatable to people and always made sure that everyone was so comfortable in his presence.
Was there anything in particular the Pope wanted to improve within the church or globally that he couldn't quite conquer?
You know, one of the things that Pope Francis told us journalists over and over again was that he had this dream of traveling to China. He wanted to follow in the footsteps of Jesuit missionaries who had gone to China the centuries before him. And that wasn't a possibility for Pope Francis during his pontificate. He did get to more than 65 countries, though. And during some of our trips, we did encounter some Chinese pilgrims, Chinese Catholics. And so perhaps we'll see one of his successors finally make that journey.
Well, Courtney Mares, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.